am the Irish guy, and right, today, I'm gonna go through every Premier League club and pinpoint each team's transfer downgrade this summer, right? Let's go. Arsenal, Jorginho to Norgard. I realize that Jorginho feels like washed up pizza, right? People like to say that the, Italian midfielder now has donut feet. That this man should be sitting in an old folks home getting fed creamy slush puppies for breakfast, right? Now, he's only 33 years old. He moved to Flamengo where he competed fairly well at the Club World Cup, even scoring against Bayern Munich. Yes, Christian Norgard coming from Brentford for £10 million is a decent bit of business because he's a solid defensive midfielder, but come on. His entire career stinks of mid-table. He's about as special as a slice of butter on a toast. He'll do a decent job sitting on the Gunners bench, but let's not pretend like Jorginho doesn't have more talent in his thought than his former Bees captain has in his entire being. Arsenal have done great business this summer, but going from Jorginho to Norgard, it is a slight dip. Aston Villa, Bailey to Sancho. Okay, this one might seem a bit out there for me to stick out my chest and say with confidence that Jadon Sancho is a downgrade on Leon Bailey. I mean, both wingers were once seen as the next English superstar whilst in the Bundesliga. Seriously, I will never stop the English media telling Southgate to bring Bailey to the 2018 World Cup, despite the fact that he sounds more Jamaican than the witch of Pirates of the Caribbean. Look, both Bailey and Sancho are frustrating wingers, but both have bags of talent, and similarly, both have end product that would make you want to puke. I mean, Roma wanted both players this summer. They couldn't convince Sancho to come to Italy, which is hardly surprising because he looks like someone you wouldn't be able to persuade to go to sleep early on a school night. Seriously, Sancho can be brilliant, but he's also clearly got the brains of a teapot. Bailey was Roma's fallback option, which, yeah, would lead you to think that he's not as good as Sancho, but he is a quicker winger, and I think he's got a better attitude than somebody who's clearly got the ego of Britney Spears. It's the most minute of downgrades. Seriously, it's like trading in your cheese sandwich for a cheese sandwich with just a sprinkle of armpit hair on top. You're hardly gonna notice the difference. Bournemouth, Huijsen to Diakite. Oh, this is one of the fattest downgrades in the list. Dean Huijsen looks to be a generational talent. This is the emergence of the next world-class centre-half. Give it a few years, and it's gonna be crazy to say that this Ballon d'Or contending megastar was ever a little old Bournemouth. It's like trying to wrap your head around the fact that George Clooney spent his 20s selling ice creams at the beach. But lads, Huijsen at the age of 20, he has bounced from the cherries and is now starting every week for Xabi Alonso's Real Madrid. And he starts for Spain too. He's a truly magnificent defender. He's a wonderful young footballer, and I'm guessing that Juventus Chiefs are smacking their heads off the fridge for casually tossing him away after just a match. It's about as careless as someone on a cliff playing keepy-uppies with their wedding ring. Anyway, Bournemouth were never going to replace a potential world-class superstar like him with anyone anywhere near as good, and they didn't. In comes 24-year-old uncapped Frenchman Bafodo Diakite from Lille. And he's nowhere near as good. Brentford, Mbemo to Otara. Brian Mbemo has come a long way from just being Ivan Toney's rubbish sidekick up front. Now, since moving to the right wing, he then smacked in 20 goals last season for Brentford, which is unheard of. He got sold to Man United for 71 mil, and £42 million of that massive paycheck is wasted on Bournemouth's Dango Otara, someone who'd only ever scored in 6 of his 81 Premier League matches. I'm convinced he was only signed based off that one hat-trick against Nottingham Forest in January, but guess what, lads? Plenty of average potatoes have scored trebles in this league. Robert Earnshaw, Marlon Harewood, Marcus Bent, Luke Moore, even Patrick Bamford, even Jack Henderson, and Elijah Adebayo. All these guys have scored hat-tricks, and yet they're no more memorable than Turkey Vomit. I know Otara scored in his debut, but if you really think he's going to be a Patch and Mbemo, then you must surely also think that Toast can talk. Brighton and Ciso to Watson. Am I the only one who really likes Julio and Ciso? Don't get me wrong, both him and Bonanotti getting snapped up by Chelsea stinks. Those transfers absolutely smell like burnt fish fingers. They just seem dodgier than a sacked ref's private life. But while Ciso has inadvertently got himself a career upgrade, sort of going to Chelsea, but only after they make him jump through hoops and play for Strasbourg instead. But let's be real, he was happily kicked out of Brighton because Hertzler doesn't rate him. But I think he's a 21-year-old Paraguayan talent who's capable of scoring absolute outrageous wonder goals. I don't think he'll ever be given a chance to Stamford Bridge, by the way. He's just cynically signed so they can make a profit out of him when sold after some loan spells away. He's getting the Chukwuemeka treatment. It's a shame, and I always think that Brighton ignoring Enciso to instead spend £20 million on an unproven teenage winger from Sunderland. Tommy Watson. Am I the only one who thinks it's a downgrade? Watson hasn't even made his debut for the England under-21s yet. Let's stop pretending that he's the Mac and Messi. Burnley, Trafford to Dubravka. Huge downgrade. Look, I know Martin Dubravka is a decent goalie, although he probably feels saltier than a bag of chips that Newcastle tricked him into turning down the Saudi bag in January. Yeah, a few months later, and he's on course for probable relegation at Burnley instead. James Trafford is a fantastic young goalkeeper, an England international who's now at Man City. Dubravka is good, but he's 37 in January, and he's capable of some absolute howlers. Trust me, he's going to make an all-time Premier League blunder this season. Obviously, Trafford is way better. Chelsea, Madueke to Garnacho. This one might seem like a statement, but yeah, Chelsea basically just paid the money they received from Arsenal for Noni Madueke. They spent that on Man United's Alejandro Garnacho. And I know it might seem utterly bonkers to claim that Noni is the better player, considering Arsenal fans reacted to his signing as if they'd just been told to lick a donkey's face. But Madueke has been quietly class so far this season for both Arsenal and England. The 23-year-old is on a mission to prove people wrong. Garnacho, on the other hand, is a modern-day brat who thinks that his poo tastes like a Terry's chocolate orange. The 21-year-old absolutely struts around the place as if he's in a boy band, with an air of undeserved, entitled arrogance. And all because he scored a bicycle kick once. Ever since that goal flew in, Garnacho has morphed into a total nightmare. He's so far gone that if a kid asked him for a selfie, I would imagine that Garnacho would look at the guy as if he's just eating a cat. I think Arteta will be able to get more out of Madueke this season than Maresca is going to be able to get out of Garnacho. Madueke scored 11 times for Chelsea last season. If Garnacho manages that number this season, then I will walk into Costa Coffee and demand that everyone give me a creepy high five. Crystal Palace, Eze to Pino. Of course, like Bournemouth selling Huijsen, I would have been gobsmacked if Crystal Palace had gone out there and signed a better player than Ebereki Eze after selling him to Arsenal. No chance. He's a club legend, scored the winning goal in the FA Cup final, deserves a statue at Selhurst Park. He is Mr. Crystal Palace. So yeah, don't get me wrong, Jeremie Pino is an exciting and attacking midfielder who plays for Spain and was class at Villarreal. He's a good player, but he's not as good as Eze. Everton, Begovic to King. Everton have had a brilliant transfer window, but if I had to nitpick, then maybe it's David Moyes switching up the third choice goalies. Sure, he's 36, but Asmir Begovic has played for Chelsea and AC Milan. He's got over 60 international caps, is a Premier League winner. He's even in the Guinness Book of Records for scoring the longest goal in football. He's gone to Leicester City, and in his place, 30-year-old Tom King, rescued from the Wolves reserves. He began his career in Gibraltar, and I'm guessing he's never been asked for a selfie in his life. It's a slight downgrade, but no one is ever gonna notice. Honestly, it's like combing your eyebrow to the left. No one's gonna notice, mate. Fulham, Pereira to King. This is weird. From Tom King to Josh King. I'm picking on so many Kings, you probably expect me to give Charles a wedgie by the end of the week. Look, Josh King is a fantastic young talent who was so unlucky to have his first Fulham goal chalked off against Chelsea the other week. But he is still only 18 and he's being thrust into the attacking number 10 role at Fulham. Andres Pereira is a 29-year-old Brazil international who's gone back to Brazil with Palmeiras. And oh yeah, represented Man United over 70 times. He's a good young talent, but he ain't as good as Pereira yet. Leeds, Christensen to Justin. Look, I'm not sitting here saying that Leeds United should be crying into their fruit juice by losing their Denmark international right back Rasmus Christensen to Eintracht Frankfurt on a permanent deal. No, because he was only on loan there last season and was at Roma before that. He hasn't actually played for Leeds since they were relegated from the Premier League last time out. Daniel Farke probably doesn't even know who he is. However, he is absolutely still a better right back than the newbie signed from Leicester, James Justin, for 10 million. Yeah, he's 27 years old and an England international, I suppose, but I mean, calm down, because he only played for England once, where he was chewed apart by Hungary on home soil in one of the most embarrassing ever England defeats. And he's never been seen in an England kit again, and for good reason, because he's absolutely toilet water these days. And it seems crazy how he'll have spent 6 of the last 7 seasons in the Premier League, considering he can defend about as well as I can sing Beyonce songs through my nose. Justin is a woeful £10 million signing, and I promise you, it's a huge downgrade. Liverpool, Trent to Frimpong. Lads, could you see Jeremie Frimpong playing for Real Madrid? Don't get me wrong, I don't think this is a laughable downgrade. I don't think it's like going from a juicy steak to a bowl full of fingernails. No, absolutely not. Frimpong is a good player, but come on. These are polar opposite right backs. Frimpong flourishes in the back 5 as a rampaging right wing back who can overlap for fun, and he often winds up in the opposition's box. Yeah, Trent is someone who barely crossed the halfway line because he just pings every pass like Beckham. Trent is world class at what he does. Frimpong, he's a top player, but I think that you're squeezing a wing back into a system that doesn't totally suit him. Alexander-Arnold was tailor-made for Salah. Frimpong, you have to say, is a good player, but it's still a downgrade. Man City, Ederson to Donnarumma. Look, Gianluigi Donnarumma is a world-class goalkeeper. I won't argue with that. He is a better shot stopper than Ederson, and probably the best shot stopper in the league. And he's done more at international level than that tattooed Brazilian will ever do. Because poor Ederson has just spent the last 10 years eating crisps on the Brazil bench. But Man City is all about having a goalkeeper who is peerless with his feet. Ederson's distribution is insane. Like nothing we've ever seen before. It's like having peak Xabi Alonso in net. Donnarumma, on the other hand, excellent with his hands, but he has chicken feet. His kicking of the ball is just average pizza. And so for how Pep Guardiola likes to play, for a perfectionist like him, this is a really weird downgrade. I don't get it. Joe Hart must be miffed. Man United, Onana to Lammens. Look, Manchester United have had a good transfer window. You can't really call too many of their new signings downgrades, but I'm going to stick my neck out there and say that new hipster goalie signing, Senne Lammens from Royal Antwerp for 10 mil, I think he's going to be even worse than Onana. I never ever thought when Man United signed this Champions League finalist from Inter Milan, someone who, by the way, was nominated for the Ballon d'Or that summer. I never thought he'd soon be getting chucked out to Turkey. For a reference, okay? A broken Daniel Sturridge was thrown away by Liverpool to Trabzonspor when he was now unable to open a tube of Pringles out, snapping his hammy in two. So for Onana to get the same treatment, to be given to Trabzonspor, to be thrown in that same Turkish rubbish bin, ouch. Don't get it twisted. Onana was garbage at Old Trafford, but Lammens, I dread to think what the pressure of this gigantic club is going to do to him. He's a 23-year-old kid with one season of regular football in Belgium under his belt. That's it, and now he's being thrown into a Man United team in chaos. Onana has been emotionally thrown away by Amorim because he's still mad at him for Grimsby. Because of Onana, Amorim's been given the worst result and biggest blotch in his managerial career, and he's embarrassed. But I do think that an almost 30-year-old Onana, who's played in a Champions League final, is still a better bet than some raw Belgian kid. Seriously, I think Lammens is going to be eaten on toast. Think James Trafford the last time he was in this league with Burnley. I wouldn't have kept Onana. No, I would have signed Martinez from Villa. But Lammens, oh, it's going to be painful to watch. Newcastle, Isak to Voltemada. Well, this is obvious, isn't it? Alexander Isak is a world-class striker. He is. I hate admitting that. I am saying it through such gritted teeth. I'm half expecting to get a phone call from the Tooth Fairy tonight. But Nick Voltemada is a £69 million risk. I know Johan Wiese has been delivered the number 9 shirt, but make no mistake about it. Voltemada is the long-term vision. He is the one they're counting on to eventually step into the shoes of Isak. He is the one earmarked to eventually take that number 9 shirt when Wiese gets moved on in 2 years. Lads, Voltemada is currently starting for Germany. That's an encouraging sign. But I sat down to watch him play against Northern Ireland last week, and it looked like seeing a polar bear in roller skates. He doesn't look confident, skillful, or composed. I hope Voltemada comes good. I really, really do. But one thing for sure, he's never going to be as good as Isak. Never. Nottingham Forest, Alangan Hutchinson. Look, it's hardly surprising this one is a downgrade, considering that Nuno Santo did not even want Omari Hutchinson at the club. He was apparently perfectly happy to let Ipswich sell him to Brentford instead. He wanted his old Wolves buddy Adama Traore. I mean, probably for protection and board meetings, if anything else. Because, I mean, it's hard to sack somebody when your best mate has bigger biceps than the moon. But no, Hutchinson was a boardroom decision. And a due signing. And yeah, he's a decent little player. But he's not a patch on 23-year-old Sweden international winger Anthony Elanga, who was sold to Newcastle for nearly 60 million beans. It's a downgrade, as proved by the fact that the club record £35 million signing Hutchinson didn't even make the Europa League squad, which for Santo, that was a blatant message of ingratitude. I mean, it's like receiving a Lynx Africa box set off your nan on Christmas Day, and instead of forcing a smile, oh no, you just get up and plop it right in the bin. Sunderland, Watson to Adingra. Sunderland have done insane business. I can't even put Job on this list because against all odds, this club have actually managed to upgrade a Mini Bellingham, but instead, look, Simon Adingra is a decent little winger, and the Ivorian feels like he should be way older than 23. Seriously, I was half expecting this former Brighton star to be on the verge of 28. How is he still so young? But look, he's a handy little player, yeah. But again, teenage star Tommy Watson went the other way to Brighton, and let's be real, he's a better prospect. But still, not better than Enciso. Not to me. Am I missing something? Why does everyone hate Enciso now? Tottenham, none. Tottenham are the only team in the league not to have downgraded this summer. Sure, Son Heung-min is a club legend, but he's in the MLS for a reason. And Tottenham have replaced him with exciting next-generation young superstars. Not a single downgrade next. West Ham foddering him to Fabianski. Yep. Lucas Fabianski is back. And there is a reason he's back. It's because nobody wanted to sign a 40-year-old goalkeeper, not even on a free. Look, I'm not saying Wes Foderingham was an elite goalie, or even a good goalie, or that he's going to be missed at West Ham. No, he was a third-choice goalie who never trickled onto the pitch for the Hammers even once. He hasn't actually played any football since that nightmare relegation with Sheffield United 2 years ago, when he conceded 8 goals in a single match against his favourite club. But even still, he's now joined Greek club Aris Limassol, forcing Potter to replace him by just bringing up a semi-retired Fabianski, who was probably knocking back Pepsi on the beach. In their prime, I mean, there's no comparison. Fabianski's obviously the better keeper, but he's now 40 years old. So I had to think that a goalie 6 years younger, who did play over 150 times for Rangers, is more competent than a goalkeeper 10 years off 50? I hope Fabianski never has to actually play this season, because he's going to be stiffer than a chess piece. Wolves Ait-Nouri to Wolf. Look, don't get me wrong, I am buzzing that Wolves finally signed a Wolf. That is a transfer that's more aesthetically pleasing than a rainbow, but whilst 23-year-old Norway international David Mellor-Wolf is a good left back, signed from AZ Alkmaar, we all know he's not going to be a patch on the Ryan Ait-Nouri, who was just sold to Man City for less than 40 mil. It's a downgrade. Anyway, that is the end of the video. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Okay, are these downgrades? Are they not? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you in a while.